Week 7. Today is fun day. I'm walking in front of Dwayne, so Dwayne's part of the camera. Yeah.
I didn't sign a release.
Well, I'm going to blur you out then. You know, I did blur you out on that one video.
Which video?
When we were in the bar. Remember for the director's meeting?
Oh, yeah.
Denise goes, I did blur your face out.
Just me?
Just for that one part, though. Yeah. So I got a...
Get the pink on voice now, too.
Well, I didn't do that. What are they watching? I don't remember that music. You remember that? Anyway, I gotta lead the discussion. Questions. So, Chapter 3, Function and Form. Section, Pygmalion's powers, which from what I remember reading was about an artist who wished his statue to come to life, a female statue, and the power of the gods granted it. If I remember correctly.
Because he fell in love with his own.
Right. Yeah. It seems this chapter continues on like sort of like where art's places in the world and the artist's perspective on their art, so to speak. So I'm just going to dive into the first question, which is kind of like the first line of the chapter, talking about the imitation of nature. So is art merely the imitation of nature, or is it something more?
I know that the author, throughout all these different chapters, including this one, he is talking about like the child bouncing on his head, etc. Like it is that. It does become that. So if you're the artist, it is becoming that. As opposed to like painting the couch. Is it the couch?
Yeah. But weird thing is when I read that, whenever I read this book, I always constantly try to think of it in relation to film. Which, it's easy to think of it as painting or a sculpture, but I kept thinking film, so, does anybody have how film could be an imitation of nature, or could be something more than that?
Like set design. That's totally an illusion, is whether or not you're creating something, or whether, and you're expecting the audience to read that and believe that it is, whether or not that's a bed, outside, an exterior of the location.
Right, like we're on a set, but the windows make it look like we're on the second story of a house. Yeah.
So in filmmaking, it seems like you want to give the illusion of reality. You want it to feel real, but you want to really make up your own reality that comes from your imagination as the artist, as the filmmaker, as a writer, whoever. It's so it's less, So in that sense, art it's not just imitation of nature. It has to be.
Making your film in a way that people be like, oh, no one would ever do that in real life kind of attitude. Or even if you have the sense of, ancient Romans all having British accents, we kind of just accept that as that's a British accent evokes this quality of refined upperclassness. So these refined upperclass people in 300 BC Rome, they must take on these airs. So that's a weird little way of having to ascribe a naturality to that.
So there we might not be imitating nature in the sense of exactness, but maybe we're imitating, I guess, the conceived notions or feelings.
Yeah. Of these people are in charge, so they must seem, very esteemed and upper class.
Yeah.
History.
Who's in there?
Who's burning the midnight oil?
Who's burning the midnight oil?
You always work this late?
This guy.
Okay. That's nice of you.
So yeah, that was my ass the entire time, talking about my discussion. Anyway, my sister's here and it's time to go home, time to relax. So yeah, that class got canceled. Technical difficulties. Anyway, on to my producing class.
What am I doing here? I'm doing this movie. I developed this movie called Black and Blue, but it's probably not going to be called that. It's probably going to be called Exposure. I'm happy to help you guys. If there's any way that I can be helpful to you as far as advice or guidance or whatever, just say that I spoke to your class at the University of New Orleans, and you guys were way cooler than Tulane. I'm happy to. Yeah.
Did the same, in school as well.
You did?
Yeah, a lot of. I was telling them the way I got my very.
You know how many people? I've been speaking in colleges for 15 years. You know how many people have called me? 0.
So stupid.
Who's your Instagram?
So stupid.
So, funny story. Stevie said, that guy's, Sean Zorson, that guy's mannerisms and the way he sits and the way he talks were just like the way I talk and my mannerisms. What do you think? Wait, the little bit you saw, do I act like that? Ah! So, what do you think? Do I talk like that? Do I act in that way when I talk? I don't know. Talk and act like in the way I sit, you know. Interesting. Yeah, you let me know. So, today's Thursday. I know, I haven't been vlogging that much. My history class was canceled today. Bummer. Anyway, my producing class, I forgot to film stuff, but we mostly just talked about the executive summary that we have to do for a midterm. It's basically a pitch document for a feature film that we would supposedly be doing. I'm doing on one I actually am trying to get made. Anyway, in my last class, my advanced project class, where we talk about the films we had made, we had showed a trial string out of stuff we had captured. Anyway, my film, everyone just loved my character. Well, I shouldn't say loved my character. They felt my character was the main character. It was the film was about me, that I was the protagonist, which I'm not. I'm sort of like, if anything, the antagonist. Anyway, so there was a lot of strong reaction to that, but I'm not sure if it's because those people know me, like, and they're projecting onto the film that, oh, they know me, so therefore they identify more with me as a character, or just because I was more charismatic. That was a word someone threw around, charismatic. So I don't know. So there might be some thoughts that I might expand the movie to be more about my character and less about the other character, which was played by Austin. So to kind of show a little more of the backstory of my character and reinforce some things. I don't know exactly, but you know what I'm going to do. But it's interesting. I mean, what's interesting really is that people, I mean, are like, Carl, we want to see more of you. We liked your character. Because once my character left the screen, it's all about Austin, his relationship with this girl, and getting this relationship with this girl. And people were just like, they seem to check out at that point. They really like, oh, who cares, you know? So, I mean, it's kind of like a kind of compliment about me. Like, oh, I was so interesting as a character. Granted, I did write the film with me in mind to play the character, but so I don't know. So it's, you know, the character's not based on me, but it's, you know, it's kind of a compliment in a way. You know, we'll see how that goes, because right now we have our Mardi Gras break / spring break coming up. So next week for us, not when you're watching this, obviously you're watching this a month or so later. But we have our Mardi Gras break, because next Tuesday is Mardi Gras, and then because of where Easter falls and the way our school schedule started this semester, our spring break is like the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday after Mardi Gras. So it's all like we're all off a whole week, so no class. So I'm going to be percolating on some ideas, and we might reshoot something / add something, you know, to the film. That's my week. As my hand shakes holding this camera, because I haven't been vlogging as much as my hands. So now that you're all caught up with all the 7 weeks of film schooling and behind the scenes videos and so on and so forth, what I did for the rest of the semester was I had to really dig in and do stuff for my thesis. I had a prospectus that was due, which I wrote a pilot for called Ronin Nights. So instead of doing a short film, I decided to do a TV pilot, which is a little different, yes, I will admit. And it's also much more work, much more. Great thing about it was, in the end, I was awarded $7,000 of the NIMS scholarship, which is part money that's put aside for students to use for their productions, which is great, because that means I have money for my film, which I've never had before. But yeah, you see, I had to write that script. I had to write prospectus. I'll go over what the prospectus was in another vlog, like specifically. But I wrote a feature film script. Was planning on doing that. They wouldn't allow me to do a feature film, as you saw. So I wrote a thesis short, which decided to do a short TV pilot, like a half-hour TV pilot, instead of doing a short film. And I had to write prospectus for that, which like I said, so I had to write a prospectus for that, which I'll do a whole video on what that was and what had to be in that. For that producing class, I ended up doing a executive summary for the feature script. But for my final project in the producing class, we had to do a pitch deck or leave behind, which is sort of like what an executive summary is, but for TV shows. It's what you use to pitch to like a network like ABC or Netflix about, hey, here's a TV show. So since I was doing a TV show for the thesis, I ended up double dipping and doing that for the producing class. You know, think harder. What was it? Think smarter. Wait, was it? Work smarter, not harder. Yeah, that's the phrase I'm thinking of. And that's not the only class. Like, for my Form and Idea class, the art class, I ended up doing a paper on Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is a big influence on my TV show pilot. And then for my history paper, I wrote about Kisho Tenketsu, which is a Japanese form of 4-act writing structure, which is how I wrote the film. And so it's like I just like constantly in all my classes like just dipped into my thesis so I could expand everything. But I'm gonna do a vlog, film school vlog on each paper I had to write. So for the final paper in Form and Idea, I'm gonna talk about that. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but I'm gonna briefly cover it. Sort of video essay/essay. I'm gonna do the same for my history paper. And then I'm also going to go over my executive summary and what an executive summary is and what I did well and what I didn't do well. And then same thing for my pitch deck. And then when I go over my prospectus, that's where I'll talk in depth about what Ronin Nights is about and how I'm producing it and how this summer has been like exhausting trying to prepare for it. But just a hint, Ronin Nights is about car drifting and it takes place mostly at night, so it's like, oh. So that's what I've been up to. Anyway, till the next video. Keep looking at the Sony thing right above the lens instead of in the lens, because I'm like, Sony. Don't know why. Anyway, bye. Oh, and in case you were wondering where I was, I'm in the lab here during the summer. I was doing some work on the computers, because there are certain pieces of software that I don't have, like scheduling software and budgeting software that I need for my project that I don't have at home. Plus I had to come here and do some financial aid, school academic process counseling because they canceled my financial aid. It's like, why are you getting 2 degrees? You don't get financial aid for 2 degrees. I'm like, motherfucker. So I had to go through all that stuff. But anyway, that's why I'm here in this room.